Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman. Here we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I'm your host, April Chapman, and this is round 2 of the war against this melanated-minded Marxist drivel that is on the internet by a particular pseudo-Christian pastor, entertainer, and podcaster by the name of Larry Reid. Now, I've already done part 1 of my reaction to his recent statements regarding Black people. How we need to take our resources and drain this country and go home. I've listened to a lot of the feedback that people provided to me on that video, kind of behind the scenes. And one observation that was made is that I really didn't give him the opportunity to kind of flesh out his thoughts and say or explain or expound on what he wanted to say regarding this topic. And I agree. I was hot as fish grease because I am so tired of this type of rhetoric. And I believe it requires people who are sober-minded, who have common sense, but who can actually accurately defend the presuppositions that people like Larry Reid come to this conversation with, because I believe that it is helpful and useful for everybody. I understand that a lot of us are not used to having our worldviews challenged. And sadly, the narrative that Larry Reid is pushing is quite common amongst a huge section of the Black community. I have long since said that the civil rights movement had a lot of negative consequences that, looking back, now that we are 60 years post-civil rights era, we can see that the gains that people have been celebrating and saying was good, I believe at the end of the day was a net negative and not a net positive. And so that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. But I am going to allow Larry Reid to speak some more. I'm going to let him speak more before I jump in and give my commentary, okay? Because I get a little anxious because the foolishness that comes out of this man's mouth, it only really takes him to say 5 or 6 words before I kind of got to jump in and just shut the whole club down.
The Civil Rights Act just made social discrimination federally illegal in key areas of American life, housing, voting, and such. It changed what was lawful, what was punishable, and what rights Black Americans could legally demand and defend. That's it. And now, those rights at the federal level, there's an attempt to roll them back. Integration has had great benefits. Let's drain this place of its benefits and make our mass exodus and go home and build. This land ain't rich enough to hold who you are. You come from a land that flows with milk and honey. They poured you out of that land ancestrally and brought you to a place to where your royalty was not recognized. Used your Black power, your Black mysticism, your African spirituality, and your physiological superiority to build this country and give everybody reparations except you. Don't believe that America don't give reparations. They do to the tune of billions, just never gave it to us. This country was created to rape, pillage Black. So unless you got an assignment from spirit or something divine that is telling you to stay here, your duty is to begin charity at home.
Okay. All right. So he said a lot. Y'all, I allowed him to get it all out. The first argument that I want to engage with is he made this initial assertion about there are policies at the federal level that are being rolled back. And I ain't gonna spend a whole lot of time on this, but I would just challenge Larry Reid to please enlighten us on what these policies at the federal level are, the rights that, mind you, our rights are not conferred or given to us by government. See, this is the schizophrenia that I talk about when you have someone like a Larry Reid who lives like a capitalist, but their worldview is Marxist and socialistic and ultimately communist in application. I don't know what rights he's talking about that at the federal level are attempting to be rolled back, but that is for him to explain and defend. And I hope he's not talking about DEI, because that is not some sort of inalienable right that somebody's trying to take. That's an entitlement program that absolutely should go away. Because if you've been here, if you are a kingdom of kings and queens, and you got this ability to just build so much, why is it that the bar has to be lowered for you, and you can't just compete based on your merit? That's one argument that I would make. But I will. He needs to explain and defend what he means by these rights at the federal level that are being rolled back. If he's referring to the Supreme Court decision as it relates to how these maps have been redrawn to, yes, weaken the Democrat strongholds here down in the South, that's not a right. That's gerrymandering that's happening and has always happened in blue strongholds. They've always disenfranchised Republicans. Now it just so happens that the Republican Party has gained a backbone and they're doing the same thing. And it looks like black people are being targeted, but they're not. It's Democrats that are being targeted. And we know that black people overwhelmingly vote blue no matter who. Because I can guarantee you it is not race. It is along party line. Let me explain. If black people in the South were overwhelmingly voting Republican, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. The Democrats wouldn't be interested in caring that the maps were redrawn because they're like, we don't have a presence down there anyway. Them black folks vote red, so it's all good. But it's because they're Democrat. They're pulling the race card, but they know that it's not race. So anyway, like I said, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that because I don't know if whatever rights he's talking about at the federal level, he's lying. He's making it up. I don't know what he's talking about, so I really can't engage with that. But what I want to do is talk about the statement where he said, this land is not rich enough to hold who you are.
Before the American Revolution, our founding fathers considered themselves slaves of the empire. And then Thomas Jefferson read John Locke. And he said that our freedom was not given us by the king. It was an unalienable right given us by God. It is irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. The founders understood that, and this is why, at the end of the Declaration of Independence, they put, we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. They said they would die before they'd be slaves. I won't just die before I be a slave. I'll kill before I be one. So all y'all out there to say you have no choice, what the founders showed you. It's Patrick Henry that said, give me liberty or give me death. And on that fateful night when George Washington had to cross the Delaware River in the ice and the snow, or the American Revolution would be lost, they said, General, what are the passwords? He said, victory or death. Either we're successful tonight or we all die. That's the idea of a free man. And I am a free man. So all you out there that believes that someone has to give you your freedom, you're admitting that you're a slave. If you come try to take my freedom away, God has given me the right to defend myself. And I got two things that'll get you off of me. That is Jesus and my 38. Slaves is a choice.
Y'all, these ethnic narcissists are a piece of work. I mean, America is pretty rich and prosperous. But I would argue, we could argue this one of two ways. You're right, Larry Reid. This land is not rich enough. The trillions of dollars that we've already spent taking care of the aspect of the blacks who all they do is whine and cry and beg for more free stuff. We are not a land of infinite resources. There is a finite amount of money and resources that we have, and you guys have already drained us enough. In proportion to the amount that you consume and use, I would argue it is not commensurate with what you've put in. So you are right. This land is not rich enough to hold who you are. So maybe it's best that you go. We're tired of taking care of a lot of y'all anyway, and you're not interested in producing anything. You want more free stuff, because the next thing out of his mouth was reparations. There you go. The covetousness, the envy, always wanting what someone else has instead of looking at yourself to figure out, what can I contribute to elevate my own station in life and to generate or to create and generate wealth for myself and my progeny. See, he understands capitalism very well because he lives his personal life as a communist. But this is the social schizophrenic that I'm talking about, because he can understand capitalism and apply it in his own personal life. But when it comes to the collective, that's that communistic language. They don't make the logical leap to understand that that does not work, and that it's based off of individual productivity. It's about you producing something of value in the marketplace, not the collective. So I wanted to argue with that, because I agree this land is not large and rich enough to hold who you are. Because y'all, we've given enough. We done taking care of you. If you don't want to produce and contribute, fine. Go on over there and do it in the motherland. But I'm trying to understand, because the next thing he said was, here in America, your royalty has not been recognized. And I'm like, y'all are the only people group that believes that everybody was a king and a queen. Well, everybody can't be a king and a queen. If everybody's a king and a queen, who are the subjects? So everybody is the big man on top. Everybody's a king. Everybody's a queen. Who are the subjects in your worldview? In your make-believe Wakanda, who's beneath you? It's delusion. They are making it up. This is the copium that the Marxist black must smoke in order for them to make sense of the world around them. Now, it doesn't make sense to everybody else with common sense, but this is the drivel that they must preach to themselves to make themselves feel better. Instead of taking personal responsibility, they have this overinflated sense of self, to where in their imaginary mind, I'm a king and I'm a queen. I'm like, so you a king and you a queen, and you a king and you a queen. Well, if everybody's a king and a queen, who's underneath the king and the queen? Who are the subjects? Y'all's monarchy is real crowded. I'm just saying. Then he says, it is going to require for you to take your black power and your mysticism and your African spirituality, to go take all of that, all like syncretistic demonic foolishness, your false mystery religious mishmash, and take that over to the motherland and build. I said, you know what? This is why we down bad. Let me be clear. I know this video is some would say this is really harsh. But this needs to be said, because this is precisely why the black community is so lost. It's because we've abandoned the God of the Bible, and we have placed an emphasis on a false religious system. We've syncretized black power, mysticism, and African spirituality, and we've made this amalgamation of a false religion, and I'm calling it the false religion of blackness. And we've been bowing the knee and worshiping that false god. And then we're confused as to why God is not blessing the fruit of our labor. This is the reason why. This is the reason why we've got teen takeovers. And everywhere you go, you see a group of blacks, they either fussing or fighting or engaged in some sort of sexually perverse or sexually explicit behavior that everybody is trying to figure out what is wrong with y'all. We got a community of orangutans and pavement apes, and no one is understanding where this behavior comes from. It's because it comes from the evil one. It's because it's not comes from people who recognize that their problem is not the white people problem in America or whiteness or white supremacy, but that their problem is their indwelling sin, their depravity of man. And so the reason why they are walking in accordance to walking like the sons of disobedience is because they're sinful and wicked and they need to be clothed in the righteousness of Christ, and that they need to repent of their sin and turn to Christ. The African spiritualism, the ethnic narcissism and the mysticism and the blackness needs to be laid at the foot of the cross. You come naked and ashamed and broken, and you say, I surrender all. And you don't get to bring to the cross your blackness. What happens is you walk away clothed in the righteousness of Christ, and you're indwelled with the Spirit of God, not the spirit of the ancestors or this other spirit that he referenced that is ungodly and is not the Spirit of Christ. It is an antichrist spirit. It's an anti-God spirit. Everything this man has articulated is anti-God, anti-Christian. It is a worldview that is wholly incompatible with what the Bible teaches as the way of righteousness. There's a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, this is not it. So I wanted to react to the remaining statements that Larry Reid made in this rant, because I felt it required me to come back and give commentary to push back against so many of the assertions he made. I can't engage with these rights at the federal level that he's talking about that's being rolled back, because nobody's taking your rights away. And it's sad that he believes that our rights are conferred to us and come from government versus understanding that our rights are inalienable and that they come from God. They're irrevocable, unsellable, and non-transferable. He doesn't understand that because he likes the benefits of capitalism, but his worldview and his mindset is bound by the covetousness and the wickedness that comes from, and the envy that comes from Marxism and socialism and communism. And this is why the Black community is full of confusion and cannot move forward, because they have failed to understand the biblical way of how to function in a well-ordered society. And instead, they have adopted this alternate worldview that is never proven to be successful. And then they're confused as to why nothing seems to be going like they want. It's because they've not bowed the knee to Christ as Lord. Just like Romans 1 says, they have failed to acknowledge God or give thanks to him, but they've become foolish in their thinking, and their foolish hearts have darkened. Claiming to be wise, they've become fools, and they've exchanged the worship of the one true God for that resembling birds, animals, and creeping things. That's that African spirituality and that narcissism and the blackness. Yeah, that false religious system is going to leave you straight to hell. So I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? This is part 2 of my commentary responding to Larry Reid on the baseless assertions and the lies that he was spouting on the internet to try to convince people that the answer to their problems and one is that white people is the problem, and the answer to the white people problem is to drain this country of its resources and then go and build in Africa. And the one question that I would have for him is, where in the past 60 years have you people built anything outside of the government's help? Where is that enclave of success? And what is your path forward to rinse and repeat and do that in Africa? And if so, I will be the first one to start the petition so y'all can pack up your bags and get the heck up out of Dodge. Because we are tired. We're tired of your dysfunction. We are tired of your sexual perversion. We are tired of your crime and your crying and your whining and your begging. We do not have an infinite supply of resources, and the reparations that you believe you are owed have already been paid in the bloodshed of those who came before you. And if the shedding of blood is not valuable enough to you, to where you can lay claim to your American inheritance and your American birthright, then give it up, shut your mouth, get on a boat, and go back to Africa and go build, and we see how that's going to work out for you. If that's your solution, we agree. Please, we will. What do you need to go? How soon can we make that happen? Trust me, we want you to go as bad as you want to leave. Listen, I was sitting several rows behind Elon Musk at Charlie Kirk's funeral. Do I need to call Elon and say how much you want to put on it? The ninjas want to go. They want to go back to your homeland. Elon, what we got to do to make that happen? I was at the White House in February. Who do I need to call to say, Trump, the prayers of the righteous availeth much. They want to go. What we got to do and how soon can we get them there? Because we tired. I know y'all are tired. We tired too. You tried to help them with the platinum plan, of which I was against. I said, you don't need to give these ninjas nothing else. You've done enough. And you know what they did with that platinum plan? They spit in your face with their ungrateful selves. And you still fight for their right to say what they want to say and be the hateful racists that they are. And you are making America great, because in the end, they're going to benefit from it. No matter how much they whine and complain and grovel with ingratitude, you are still doing what you do because all of us benefit. But I'm just saying, listen, do I need to put in a call? I mean, like I said, Elon Musk, Trump, who do I need to call to make this happen? Let's get Marco, let's do this. Please, can we answer their request and send them on the next thing smoking? Because there's so many of us who we've been functioning in our freedom, but you guys make it very difficult because we got to deal with your element all the time, and it's dragging everybody else down. And the whole country is tired and fatigued. So you let us know what is going to be required for you to pack up and go. And it can't include stealing something that belonged to somebody else. Since you've been building, right, the nation all this time, surely you must have enough to go figure it out on your own. Or let me guess, you're going to go over there and mine some diamonds and things and build up the infrastructure in Africa. This was the most silliest thing I have ever heard. And it just demonstrates to you that these blacks, this element of the blacks, suffer from psychosis and a delusion that only Christ can heal. You can't fix people who think like this, because their worldview is not even rooted in reality. They really have to be, their minds have to be renewed, and they have to be made alive in Christ Jesus, because they spiritually brain dead and physically brain dead too. Like, they really do need Jesus. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. Leave me your comments down in the box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.